the Mass is what's called a propitiatory sacrifice. Now, that's just a technical way of saying that this is a means by which we appease God or appeal to his mercy, and we're reconciled to him. Most Protestants today reject this idea. You'll sometimes hear people say it's re-crucifying Christ. So it's kind of controversial, especially in a Protestant country like the US. But if you were to time travel back to the dawn of the Reformation, you wouldn't find two sides to that debate. Everybody knew that the Mass was a propitiatory sacrifice. And you don't need to take my word for it. Martin Luther complained in The Bondage of the Will that there is no opinion more generally held or more firmly believed in the church today than this, that the Mass is a good work and a sacrifice. Similarly, the reformer John Calvin complained that Satan had not only obscured and perverted, but altogether obliterated and abolished, vanished away and disappeared from the memory of man, the original Lord's Supper, when, with most pestilential error, he blinded almost the whole world into the belief that the Mass was a sacrifice and oblation for obtaining the remission of sins. The dawn of the Reformation, the reformers' own argument is that everybody on earth is worshiping God falsely. Jesus creates the Lord's Supper, Satan somehow abolishes it, and somehow makes all the Christians forget that they were supposed to be worshiping God in a different way. He somehow seemingly managed to erase knowledge of this other way of worshiping God from all the annals of history. I want to be very clear. The reformers were not just saying this is the view of some ignorant, illiterate Catholic peasants. No, they're very clear this is a view of the theologians and the laity alike. Calvin says the Catholic view of the sacrifice of the Mass is not merely the common opinion of the vulgar, but the very act has been so arranged as to be a kind of propitiation by which satisfaction is made to God for the living and the dead. Martin Luther agreed, pointing out that the words of the Mass themselves speak in unmistakable terms of the sacrificial nature of the Mass at the altar. But then he goes on to admit that it's even more than that. He says, added to these are the sayings of the Holy Fathers. He means the Church Fathers. The great number of examples and the widespread practice uniformly observed throughout the world. Here, we have the reformers telling us explicitly that the expiatory nature of the sacrifice of the Mass, this thing that they reject, was the universal opinion of the church everywhere. Theologians and laity alike, that is found in the prayers that all Christians had been praying every week for ages, and that it's reflected in the writings of the Church Fathers. When they admit those things that don't help their case, believe them. The Protestant rejection of the Mass is a repudiation of the first 1,500 years of Christianity. It is a branch cut off from its Christian trunk. Now, to see this, you only have to read the reformers themselves.